Well, I think from the industry point of view, when you look at technology, BS6 coming right after BS4, there is definitely a challenge we see there in terms of explaining to the users, getting in the right products, and that process has already started in terms of the companies testing the products. Most of us who have had got global experience and work closely with the technology providers, the additive companies have already tested the product. But when it finally hits the road and the consumers start consuming the products, they need to be educated. The second challenge, I think, is definitely people are looking at the electric vehicles, which certainly we have seen a lot of hype around that, a lot of, I would say, statements made, a lot of talk about how soon it's going to come in various segments of the market. And I think that needs to be calibrated well. There is a solution in electric vehicles to be hybrid, not fully electric. And each country, each geography will have their own challenges. In India, the penetration of passenger cars is low. There is still scope. The economy is a young economy. We are growing. And there should be no unnecessary panic because, from a lubricant side, it's still an industry which is going to have a large, volume growth. India is the third largest lubricant market. And we see that there will be a coexistence of both the electric vehicles and the combustion engines in many areas. So the first is the growth driver should be the economy. Technology as it progresses, I think we are looking at, there have been step up in terms of the drain interval, the performance of the lubricants, fuel economy is coming into play. And as I mentioned, electric vehicles are going to come, I think, at some pace, not necessarily very fast pace. So we have to meet that challenge. And then obviously there's a challenge of competition. Competition, obviously, in a market like India is there, where different players will adopt different strategies. The large global players are looking at many different types of fuel or energy sources. So that again is, I think, going to be a good growth driver if we can get it right. Gulf Oil globally, of course, is present in automotive and industrial lubricants, as we know, in more than 100 countries. In India, our strategy again is around automotive industrial, and we focus on that. The last couple of weeks and months, I would say, things are improving. Demand is picking up. The monsoons have been very good. Hopefully the government now, of course, the elections are over, so we see that development agenda becomes again top priority. Infrastructure picks up, mining picks up, and industry picks up. Some concessions have been given by the government also for helping the corporate tax and investments. And the finance part also hopefully should start getting into better act. As we know, there have been some issues around that with the NBFCs and the banks. So I think market will pick up. And for Gulf, we have been growing 12% CAGR volume in an industry which is growing 2 to 3% consistently for over a decade. And last year we grew in a financial year 18% in our coal volumes, and actually it was 25. So we continue to look at growth even now. We are not negative. I think the availability of the BS6 lubricants to match the Euro 6 will happen. The OEMs have been testing the product. So I would say the OEMs had a challenge to get the vehicles out and get the testing done. So that challenge has been overcome. But it was definitely availability of the new engines, and a lot of the manufacturers here have got technology which they had tested earlier, but some had developed for India and in India. So we've seen that as a challenge which has been overcome. We are ready. The products are in the market. I think education of the end user is going to be a challenge. And working together with the additive companies, I think we are positioning various value propositions in various segments. And the new BS6 in across segments, we will have to position the products and differentiate our products, I guess, and at the same time standardize the use in the BS6 vehicles that are going to be soon on the road. Car segment is going to be quite exciting, I think, to see how it develops and various new propositions coming in. How do people react? I don't think people will want very big cars, but have cars with more utility. And I would say that transportation, if you take marine, how goods are transported, marine shipping industry has always been challenging. People are building now huge connectivity in terms of rail. We are seeing large pipelines being laid for transportation. So things are going to be faster and quicker. Our experience here in India has been that the involvement of the buyer it varies as per the the use of his vehicle. So if you take a commercial vehicle fleet operator or a truck owner, for him it's important that when he buys a new vehicle, it's maintained well, it doesn't let him down, and whatever consumables he's putting in, it gives him better value. So we find that long drain, the longevity, and having the right oil to protect his equipment, his truck is very important to him. Plus, he should have the facility to get the oil consistently, because they don't change brands very often. So, to convince him that your product is better and it gives him what he wants is the key for the truck owner. For the case of cars, I think, again, the OEMs play a big role. What they use in their vehicle when the car is bought new and the servicing. So in the stage of the first 5 years of the car, I think people would prefer to use something which is recommended by the OEM. Though we have a number of cars which go from the urban to the lesser urban cities or the rural, then you have the independent garages which play a role in providing the lubricant. In the end, I think there is a set of buyers who look at quality, look at what the attributes. So for example, our motorcycle oil talks about having a higher acceleration, smoother acceleration. Now people require that smooth functioning, and they find that when they use an oil, better oils give them that better performance in terms of acceleration. So that becomes a value proposition which you can talk about. I think if you take a lubricant, it's about performance and protection. So whether you look at any lubricant, it's either of those, and we need to obviously differentiate. And I guess it's very important to see how the consumer is looking at all this.